Okay guys, so this is a code shell in which you need to implement the 4 different functions so that your device will be able to function properly. What I'm going to do is to explain some of these codes that has been pre-written for you. However, the bulk of the codes you will have to write that for yourself. So what we have here is probably about 20% of the codes have been implemented, and the remaining 8% of the code you need to implement that for yourself. So let me take you through exactly as to what is going on here. Well, at the top part here, you have you include your header files, the one for the remote and the one for the LCD which you've been using. This section here is where we're going to initialize the remote. When you did the first experiment for this lab, you would have actually included those files. So this remain the same. You don't have to do that. Now, what we got here for you now is initialize power, because when you press the power button on the remote, it needs to turn on the system. So pin 9, the backlight of your LCD is connected to pin 9. The other one is state. I mentioned in the PowerPoint slide for you that when you're implementing remote, we need to keep track of state, and state could be 0 and state could be 1. It depends on whether the system is on or off. This block of code here basically initializes our temperature sensor. I would not go into details with that because you would have done that in lab 3. There are some variables you need to keep track of. I mentioned them before, global variables. I trust that you all would have gone through on Google and Google global variable. One of them is temp R and the other one is temp D, which stands for a predefined temperature, as you can see, and temp R is room temperature. You can implement that anywhere in your code. You can use it to your advantage. However, if you feel you don't want to use it, you can just comment it off and write in your own thing. Here is where we establish the LCD crystal display, the liquid crystal display. So this, you are aware of this. Then we move on to void setup, where we initialize all our different pins and the modes, and this we know that this portion of the code will run only once. So these are the only codes that has been pre-written there for you. Don't forget, at the top here it says include appropriate code description and credits. You need to explain what this entire code is doing once you would have coded it properly, and also need to write the names of the people who would have been contributing to that. In that case, it's going to be myself and then yourself, basically. Now, inside of void loop, you see here that's the system main code. System main code will consist of power on system via remote, so that code will have to come here. Print initial room temperature, you will put a particular code here, and control room temperature that are going to be here. This, don't worry about this. This is the last function that you're going to implement. At the bottom, inside, we are still inside of void loop, because void loop starts from here and finishes here. What I would have included here for you is test codes. There are 3 different test codes. One test code is for the temperature function, the other one is for the comparator function, and the last one is for the remote function. You're going to implement your function one after the other. Make sure that each of them work before you move on to the other one. The first function you're going to implement is the temperature function. Once you would have implemented your temperature function, you're going to come here, and as it says, uncomment the 3 lines of code below to test your temperature function. You're going to uncomment this like this, put this back, this one here, bring it back, this one here, you also backspace it, and then you click run. You run your code. Make sure that your hardware is actually connected to the computer, because you're going to download the code onto the Arduino. Once it's downloaded properly, what you should see displaying on the LCD is test 1 and the current temperature. If you don't get that, if you're not seeing that, then it means that something is wrong with your system. Okay. The next one, you're going to move on. Once this is working properly, move straight on to implement your comparator function. Once you have implemented your comparator function, you're going to, similarly as the temperature function, you're going to backspace this, backspace this one, and backspace this one. Connect your device to the computer and then upload your code to the Arduino again. At this time, you should be seeing test 1 displaying on the top row of the LCD, while test 2 will be displaying on the bottom row of your LCD. This proves that your first two functions are working. Next, move on immediately to implement the remote function. If you once you would have implemented your remote function, come down here and uncomment remote function, and also originally when you would have connected your device, we would have connected the LED pin, the positive LED pin would have connected to VCC. I want you to remove that pin from VCC and connect it to pin 9. Once you connect it to pin 9, you're going to upload the code to the Arduino and use your remote control to turn the system on and off. Again, remember, you need to remove the LED plus, that is the backlight LED. You need to, that pin, you need to connect it to pin 9 instead of VCC on your breadboard, and that is how you will know whether or not your remote code is working. Once you turn it on, your system should come on, which means the backlight should turn on, and then the backlight should turn off once you turn that off. Once you would have done that, it means that all of these three functions that you would have implemented are working. You can now delete this entire block of code here, which is these are your test code. They are no longer needed, they are now useless, and you can delete them. Or if you don't want to delete them, you like to see them in your code, comment them back. Just as how you would have uncommented them, I would like you to comment them back like this. I don't like deleting things, so I will comment it. I will do a comment. I'll come back here and also do a comment for this, or comparator function also need to comment. Now the last part is to implement your main code, which is void loop. So what you need to do here, it says a power on system via remote. Well, you're just going to put in, call it just a simple call to your remote function. Print initial room temperature, that's a call to your temperature function. And here, control the room temperature, you're going to include your comparator function here. There are detailed explanation on the slides as to how you should go about implementing the main function. Okay, as I said again, remember, once you have finished testing your code, test code is no longer needed. You can actually remove it from there. Now, where do you implement your codes? Well, right down here, they are implemented outside of void loop. As you can see, the first one is temperature function. It gives you a brief explanation as to what temperature function should be doing. Now, what you're going to do in order to implement this function, I would like you to uncomment here and also uncomment here. This means your temperature function is active. Here I would have included comments for you, so right in front of you, start writing your code. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, these are 4 lines, you write your code here. Once you do this, you do the test. Once you finish your temperature function, move on to comparator function. Remove that 2 comments that I have put in here for you. Remove this comment. It means now that this function is also active. Start typing your code here. This one is not as simple as it is. You cannot implement it in only 4 lines of code. You need more things. You need more codes to actually implement it. Again, for the IR remote, in order to get that running, you need to remove this comment and also this comment, and then start coding. Okay guys, so that is it. I think you have everything you need. All the tools are in the toolbox for you to complete lab 4. As usual guys, happy coding. Bye bye. 再见.